Probe is one of many, but just only a single investigation, just one, has led to a criminal prosecution. Score the public one, bankers billions in profits. A housing market that literally lost trillions of value. Does it seem to you like the occasional interview by law enforcement or regulators is just a cost of doing business for Wall Street? Maybe just an inconvenience that you plan for ahead of time. A footnote on the annual report. Regulators talk tough, but we don't need words, we need actions. And that's my 2 cents. For more on the mortgage mess and what regulators are doing about it, I'm joined by Republican New York Congresswoman Nan Hayworth, a member of the Financial Services Committee. Great to see you, Congresswoman. Thanks for being on the show today.
Glad to be here, Gerry. Thanks.
All right, well, let's start with all those investigations. It seems like there are overlapping investigations, almost investigations of investigations. What do you make of that?
Well, it's not surprising that there's a pile-on among attorneys general because, of course, this is potentially very rich territory for them politically, and there probably are going to be some findings that will embarrass some of the folks who were involved in this mortgage mess.
Well, I think it's going to go on and on. We're going to be talking about this forever. Every year a new investigator, the next year more perp walks, I guess. I want to talk to you also about the debt ceiling. Lots of comments about the debt ceiling. I want to start with the Treasury Secretary, Geithner, yesterday making a speech. Here's what he had to say. And I'm reading from his prepared comments because when he delivered this speech, this part of it didn't make sense. But here's what he was going to say. If Republicans try to impose that plan on this country, that is, cutting the debt, as a condition for raising the debt limit, then they will own the responsibility for the first default in our history with devastating damage. Is the Treasury Secretary right?
The responsibility lies with those who continue to spend us into oblivion. The responsibility lies with the Senate and the administration who have been resisting the efforts that the House Republican Conference has been leading to restrain federal spending. That's where our responsibility lies. The debt ceiling has been, and indeed it has been exceeded because of program spending that is completely irresponsible. This is our children's history and the future we're talking about. So we need to act, and we need the Senate and the administration to get on board as fast as possible.
All right, USA Today and Gallup had a poll. You got to see this. Should Congress members get another term? People don't think so. Yes, 28%. No, 63%. I got to tell you, people out there are starting to say, I can't support my Congress member. They're not doing what they told us we would do. What's your reaction?
Well, I'm not surprised that they're frustrated by the relative lack of progress overall since we were elected in the 112th Congress. And the reason, of course, is that we have a Senate that absolutely sits on the advances that the Republican majority in the House has been endeavoring to make in behalf of those who elected us in November.
Well, how will you vote on the debt ceiling?
Well, we have to be responsible about the debt ceiling. We have to understand that there is the future of our Treasury bond market, our interest rates, and indeed, you know, the American consumer in general. So we're going to have to think about raising the debt ceiling. But if we do so, it has to be in the context of having at least dollar-for-dollar compensation for whatever amount we choose.
And that's exactly what the administration is opposing right now. I have to ask you about something that's very close to our viewers' hearts and something we talk about on this show a lot, and frankly, that's housing prices. While all of this is going on, the debate over the debt ceiling, this IMF scandal, you name it, it's all obscuring something that's very important to the American people, and that's the loss of value in their houses. Seems to be going unnoticed by Congress that we are now in a double dip. What needs to be done?
The best thing we can do for the American public is provide all of them with assurance that we are doing everything we can to revive the economy. And that means that we have to lift burdensome regulations, we have to control federal spending, we have to assure Americans that we are doing all we can to put working capital back into their pockets and back into our small businesses. It's Small Business Week. We need to assure them that they're not going to have increasing burdens, they're not going to be penalized for success.
Well, you know, we've had a lot of unintended consequences of Dodd-Frank and other laws that were put in place to take care of these problems, to help people out. You know, the credit card companies made a lot of mistakes. Now they're heavily regulated or more heavily regulated. But I got to tell you, the laws that were written, some of the consequences are worse than what they were trying to solve.
Well, precisely right. It is an avalanche of unintended consequences and a regulatory flurry and blizzard that is obscuring the chance for